So let's start with the ball, using the ball on our feet. To start, we're gonna roll, do a good bit of rolling of the feet today. Not quite as much as we did last week, but we are gonna roll each foot, spend at least 2 to 3 minutes on each foot. Right now, just start back and forth, little rolls, not too much pressure, breathe. And then as you roll, pay attention to where there's tight spots. Are there tight spots up by the ball of your foot, down by the heel, on the inside arch space, outside edge, maybe right at the middle? Slow down your breathing here, especially if you just finished Tommy's class. Use this time to get your breathing back down. And rolling. And remember, we want to kind of just move the toes. So especially pull them up and spread them apart, and then just letting them hang out and while you're rolling. Okay, so just relaxed or flexed and spread here in this space. Right. So same foot. Stay here with the rolling, maybe getting a little bit deeper. Go ahead. Now let's find trigger points. So polka dot, push down, move the toes, rock off. Rock on the ball, wiggle the toes, rock off. And you can do this next to a wall, using the wall next to you, using the wall in front of you, whatever feels good to you is fine. Rock on, move the toes, rock off. And going, again, targeting those spaces that you found tightness or adhesions in. Rock off. Rock on. Rock off. On. Rock off. Let's go about 20 more seconds here on this foot. Good, and shake out that foot, shake out that leg. Do a little shifty side to side, one foot then the other. Just feel the difference. How does that foot, leg, ankle, hip feel? Switch it to the other side. And same thing, back and forth. Discovering all the areas of that foot. So imagine the bottom of your foot was the palm of your hand. Really try to figure out if you can cover each little space in there. Spend a little time feeling what's going on in each space. Wow. Controlling that breath. Big inhales and exhales. Good. Don't forget that outer edge. All the way out there. So it's sticking out beyond the outside edge of your foot, beyond that pinky toe side. And then to get that inner edge, go ahead and let that big toe turn in, let the knee turn in, and really dig in that arch space, back and forth. Big inhales and exhales. Inhales and exhales. Good. Inhales and exhales. Good. Now let's poke it out this side. Push down. Move the toes. Step off. Rock on. Move the toes. Rock off. Rock on. And rock off. Trying to hit all those spaces where you had trigger points. Really trying to get the toes and that way the foot to expand, spread, and release. Just about 20 more seconds here on this side. Good, and shake out that foot. And again, do a little shifting, stand on one leg, then the other. Should feel a little more stable, more balanced on both sides now that you got those feet awake and activated. Good. So what we're going to do next, come on down to the floor. We're going to roll out those calves really quick. So we're going to roll the calves, then we'll come back to the wall and do a little stretch. So I'm going to put the ball right here, right in the center of my calf. And just find a spot, press, hold. I'm going to add movement at the ankle. I'm going to do a little horizontal movement, a little vertical movement. Whatever feels good, just getting that ball into those spaces. I'm going to focus on my outer layer, my gastroc, that bigger calf muscle first. All right, so focusing a little bit more on that inside, right on here. That's my first section I'm going to work on. Just doing a little rolling back and forth for about 15 more seconds. Then I'm going to focus on the soleus, that underlying muscle that's underneath the gastroc. And that's the muscle that does responsible for the movement, more movement of the foot, especially that flexion, pulling up the toes. Okay, so even at doing this, I can feel I have tightness underneath that gastroc. So I'm going to go ahead and pull it. I'm going to show you this side. I'm going to pull in. Okay, so I'm going to grab that muscle and pull it to the inside. So if I pull it in, then right where my fingers are, I'm going to put that ball. Okay. Now I've just moved that gastroc out of the way. Underneath there is that soleus muscle. I can just push down right in the middle and start moving my foot, both flexing and then putting the toe in and putting the toe out. And I can feel work in that soleus muscle, right? I'm not doing a whole lot of rolling, maybe just a little bit back and forth. Pretty tight on this side here. I'm just going to do a lot of movement underneath. So I'm going to focus on that lateral side. For me, I'm a little bit tighter out here, all right? But find a spot that you need to spend time on and spend it there. Big inhales and exhales. We're here on this leg for 40 more seconds, okay? So anywhere in the calf, on this side, spend time there, breathe, see what's going on. Try to get it to release just a little bit. Movement, remember to spread the toes, flex the ankle. Don't forget the breath. I'm going down a little bit lower now, getting the inside, so right in this space, right? Inside edge, also soleus muscle. Good, same thing, other leg, right? So again, I'm going to focus on that gastroc, that bigger calf muscle, outer layer, rolling back and forth, front to back, horizontal pattern, breathing. Good, and then to get that soleus again, grabbing that gastroc, pulling it out of the way, putting the ball right where your fingers are, targeting that underneath layer, moving the foot, big inhales and exhales, maybe a little circular pattern, horizontal, vertical, whatever works for you. Remember, this is very much a class that you need to decide what you're doing to benefit you the most, right? You got to read your body and respond, right? Want to do that lower space, add soleus down there, moving the foot up and back, side to side. Good, just about 20 more seconds here on this side, and then we're going to stand up again, and we're going to stretch the feet and the calves. Big inhales. All right. So putting the ball to the side just for a second, we're going to stand back up and we're going to target the feet and the calves. So putting one foot back, but before we do that, I want you to check and make sure that all 10 toes are pointed forward. Okay? Especially that back foot. We don't want the foot spun open here. We want the toes to point straight ahead. So all 10 toes point into the wall. Hands can be on the wall. And the first one we're going to do is we're going to push up. So ball the foot into the floor, heel up as if it's on a string. You're going to lift, 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 lift. Tuck that tailbone, press it forward. Maybe getting a little hip flexor lengthening here. Big inhale. Exhale, do 2 more breaths. Inhale. Exhale, 1 more breath. Big inhale. Exhale. And let's put that heel on the floor. So we're going to push heel down, hip forward, and hold. Good. Now we're going to come back up on the toes, but now we're going to flip them. So tops of the toes down to the floor, front of the ankle forward. Tuck that tailbone as if we're kicking forward, stretching the top of the foot here. 1 more breath. Good. Flip it back over. Put that heel down. Start with a straight knee, and then keeping that heel pressed in the floor. Bend the knee. Just gentle, gentle, gentle. Bend the knee. Take that knee down towards the toes. Hold here for 3 breaths. We're getting down lower into that Achilles and ankle space. Good. And then come on up. Shake out that leg and go ahead and switch. All 10 toes pointed forward. Back foot, especially. Make sure those toes are forward. Coming up on the toes, pushing away, tucking the tailbone. And hold. 3 breaths. Good. Pushing that heel down, tucking the tailbone. Take heel down, hips forward. Good. And then we're going to come up on the toes, but we're going to flip them over. So tops of the toes down, front of the ankle forward as if you're going to kick. And those toes got stuck on the floor. Keep pressing that hip forward. 3 breaths. Good. And heel back to the floor. Start with the straight knee, then bend the knee. Key is here, keeping that heel pressed into the floor as much as you can. As soon as the heel pops up, we're going to lose that stretch down in the lower part of the calf. So pressing that heel down, taking the knee towards the floor. Don't force anything. Let's do 2 more breaths. Good. And then coming back up, we're going to just continue a little bit of the foot and calf stretch. I'm sorry. Come on our mat. So from here, starting at one end of your mat, take a big inhale. On the exhale, forward fold, and just walk out to a down dog. Holding your down dog however you want. But we're going to focus on the calves here in that down dog. So that means we're pedaling the feet. What I really want you to do is think about pulling the belly button to the spine, pressing the heels down to the floor. Focus on that calf. You're going to get some hamstring lengthening as well. But really focus on pulling the belly button up and in. So tailbone is reaching up. And in the opposition, you're pushing those heels down. Just alternating. Really try to push that whole foot down. Keeping the tailbone lifted. This is where that active stretching comes into play. Think of opposition here. Just a little bit more. Let's just do a couple more on each side. And then just slowly walk back in and roll up. Good. All right. Knees down, feet, ankles, toes, everything should feel a little more awake and alive. Let's continue it up the chain. I'm going to take it into the quad muscle a little bit. So if we're looking at that line, straight down from here's my hip ball and socket joint right here, straight down my thigh to my knee, that's my IT band. What we're going to focus is on the quad just in front of the IT band. I'm going to put that ball right there, lean up against the wall, and I'm going to do a little, just kind of bend the knee, straighten the knee a little down and up. So what that ball is doing is just tracing up and down on the outside of my leg. All right, so knee is bent, the drop down. We don't want that ball on that IT band. Remember that IT band is very, very thick and fibrous. We're not going to change that, right? But all we can do is work on the muscles around that thick fibrous tissue, which here we're focusing on that vastus lateralis, the quad muscle. You could also work on the lateral hamstring muscle. We'll do that, we'll target that a little bit later in our stretching. But right now, just targeting that space. And you can take it up high here to about mid quad. Below that, you're getting into less muscle tissue and more of that IT band tissue. So stay in that upper half of the quad there. Right? So we'll be here for about 20 more seconds on this side, and then we'll switch. Right, so just kind of exploring that ball. Maybe you're doing a little up and down vertical. Maybe you do a little cross friction side to side. Maybe just press and hold. Breathe. And then you can just add some movement by bending and straightening the knee. All right, whenever you're ready at that side, go ahead and switch. So again, if here is my IT band, I'm going to put the ball right in front. I'm going to target from about half mid-thigh up to that ball and socket space. So right in this space is where that ball is just exploring, rolling around. All right, the leg that has a ball on it against the wall, that knee is bent. You're not really weight bearing a lot on that side. You're stabilizing yourself with that other leg. You find a tight spot, press, hold, breathe. Maybe do a little shimmy shake back and forth. You could even bend the knee, straighten the knee. Because what the quad actually does is it shouldn't move with the IT band. It should move actually in the opposite direction. What happens a lot of times is our quad gets so locked down on that IT band that they end up just being bound together. So we want to try to encourage that quad muscle, all parts of it, to fully contract and relax the way it's meant to and not be locked down on your IT. So if you're finding a lot of tenderness out here, spend some time rolling, not to IT band, but that vastus lateralis, stretching. Go ahead and do about 30 more seconds on this side. And then we'll do a little bit of a quad stretch. Good. And another opportunity just to feel what's going on in your body. Usually my right side is tighter than my left. Today, my left side is definitely feeling it more. All right. So you can use your wall here if you need. You're going to take that back foot, find it, quad stretch. So in our quad stretch from the front, remember we want those knees tucked in together. We don't want that knee splayed out to the side. And then from the side, same thing. I want the knee tucked underneath the hip. I don't want it back like this. Okay? So finding it, holding it, pulling the heel in as tight as you can. And then at the same time, pressing the hip forward. So we're going to hang out here for a little bit. But then when I say go, I want you to take that foot, push it, kick it into your hands, and give yourself that resistance. Ready? Set, and go. Kick and hold. Kick, 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 kick. Keep pressing, keep holding. Feel those quads elongate. 10 more seconds. Good, and then bring that heel back in. Bring it in tight. Standing tall, shoulders roll back. and release. Let's do the same thing on the other side. So I'm going to pick my heel in, right? Nice and tight, knees underneath the hip, holding tight here. And then when I say go, same thing, you're going to kick that foot into your hand, give yourself resistance. Ready? And go. Kick, 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 hold, hold, hold. Feel that resistance. Kick and hold, 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 hold. Feel that quad elongate. 5 more seconds. And relax. Good stuff. All right, let's do a little back, side to side. So what you should feel here is a little more activation through the quad as you stand on one leg. Is that quad firing to help you stay balanced, side to side. Okay, next up, hips and glutes. Let's find that lower glute space first. Put the ball right in there, and we're gonna roll side to side, horizontal, vertical, maybe a little diagonal pattern, going in line with the fibers of that big glute max. So we're going from the ball and socket joint into the tailbone, right in that space. And if you find a tight spot, find an adhesion, press, hold, breathe. And maybe you reach up and out, doing a little pin and stretch. All right, and we'll do another minute here in the glute max, I should say, so the lower glute space. So go ahead and change or alternate between sides whenever you're ready. Big breaths, inhales and exhales. All right, same thing, press and hold, find a tight spot. You can reach up and lean away from the ball on the wall. All right, and then in this space too, you can find that ball and socket joint, just kind of trace around it with the ball. Okay, imagine that ball just nuzzling up against the joint, not right on it, but just targeting all those connective tissues around the joint. Good, moving up, high glute space. All right, so finding your top or the rim of your pelvis, putting the ball right beneath that and letting that ball just kind of nuzzle up right underneath the top rim of the pelvis, going in and out from your tailbone out to your hip. Good, in and out. Push and hold, press and hold, take that arm up and over. Good, and then just alternating between the two sides. This is where we're going to finish up our rolling here with this high glute space. So do whatever you feel here. If you feel you want to spend a little more time on the glute, the lower glute, a little time on that sideways space, reaching up and out. Just about 40 more seconds. We'll finish up our rolling and get down to stretching. Stretching obviously is going to focus on the hips down today. On Wednesday, we'll spend some more time, I should say, on the space above the hip. So usually on Mondays, we do from the hips down, right? So just about 20 more seconds in this space. All right. So we can put the ball down. We're going to come down to the mat, and on the mat, just need your yoga strap, your towel. One other thing you could bring, if you need it, if you feel like you need it, you could fold up the towel to use as a kneeling pad, or if you have a little pillow that you want to use to kneel on, that will work as well. We're going to start in this half kneel position. So I'm down on my back knee, back toe is tucked, front knee bent at 90 degrees, so that when I come forward, that knee's not going to go past my toe. So what we're going to do here is a little bit of a hip flexor, hamstring stretch first. So notice what I'm doing here is I'm going to take my pelvis and do a little posterior tilt. So I'm going to take my pelvis and tilt it back, right? We don't want that anterior tilt here. We want to do a little posterior tilt and then come forward. That allows you to access that hip flexor space, right? So I'm here, keeping that back glute nice and tight. You can take that same side arm up, reaching up and a little bit over as you continue to press forward, lengthening even more through that hip flexor space. Good, now that front leg, we're gonna target that with a hamstring stretch. So think heel away, toe pull back. So think opposition, back of the leg going forward, front of the leg coming back towards your body. Bring your hands down to the leg, the mat, wherever it's working. You can have a pillow or something to bring the floor up to you a little bit. But we're targeting the back of that long leg here, pulling the toes in. Good, and then what we're gonna do is just gonna transition. I'm gonna turn 90 degrees here. So that leg that was forward is now off to the side, and that foot is flat. I'm gonna bring my hands forward, and now we're just gonna do a little rocker. So I'm gonna rock my hip back to my heel as that long leg stays straight out to the side, bottom of the foot still in the floor. I want to keep the back nice and flat here. And let's just do 5 more rocks. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Good, now you're going to take that long leg out to the side, bring it in as if you're in child's pose, and I'm going to turn this way so you can see that my toes tucked in the back, hands come forward, and I'm going to do a 2-legged rocker. Back and forth. So notice my hands are forward of my head, rocking hips to heels, and then bringing those hips back over the knees. Keeping the belly button pulled in, just getting a little bit of activation, movement through those hips that we just rolled out. Let's do 3 more. 3, 2, and 1. Good. So we're going to switch sides here. All right, so now we've got this side up, back toes tucked, and we're going to come forward. Remember that posterior tilt. So I'm going to take my pelvis and tilt it back, locking that glute, pressing forward. I'm going to take that same side arm up and a little bit over the top, targeting the hip flexor on that down knee side. Good, now shifting back. Heel down, toe pull back. Think opposition, right? Back of the leg forward, front toes pulling back. Hands come down to the floor. Good, and then you're just going to transition, keeping that leg, straight leg still out to the side. I'm going to turn this way so you don't have to look at my back side. All right, so leg straight out, hands come forward. Remember that back toe, keep it tucked so you can rock back hip to heel. That nice inner thigh stretch. Good. Just 3 more rocks here. 3, 2, and 1. Good. Bring that second leg in. Hands forward still, and let's do that 2-leg rock. And then have those toes tucked here, because as we rock and those toes dig into the floor, we're getting a little bit bonus here is that we're stretching the bottom of the feet as well, right? Belly button pulled in. Notice how my back stays nice and flat. I'm not letting that back sag at all. Good. We're going to do 5 more rockers here. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Good. Coming on the floor. Sitting down with that left foot folded in, the right foot back. We're just going to do a little bit of a modified pigeon here. So just coming forward, bringing your chest over that front leg, and then bringing that the toes of that front foot towards your shin as much as you can. Take a big inhale and exhale. This is targeting that high hamstring. Inhale, exhale. Good. And then you're going to walk back up. And you're going to turn your upper body so that you're now a little bit more in line with the front thigh there and come straight down. Now we're going to come back up and we're going to turn the upper body and come more towards that foot. And then one more time, pick one of those 3, the one that makes you or gives you the best stretch. And we're going to hold that for 4 breaths. Good. Coming back up, and we're going to flip. Right? Other leg folded in, other leg folded back. And we're angling right over that front shin with the toes pulled in. Good. Coming back up, angle that body so we're right over that front thigh. Come on down. And then coming up, angling so you're kind of over that front foot as much as you can. Come on down. And then picking of those 3, straight ahead, on the angle, pick your favorite, come on down, and hold for 4 breaths. Good. Coming back up. And we're going to come onto our back. This is where you're going to use your towel or your yoga strap, whatever you have. Coming back onto your back. I'm going to flip around this way. Take it. Put your foot there in your towel or your strap. I'm going to target heel over hamstring to start. And the leg that is not being stretched can stay at a bend, or you can take it straight, whatever feels best for you. I'm going to do a combination of 3 stretches here. This first one, heel to the ceiling, toe to the nose, give it a little tug. Now we want to make sure that the back of the hip's not picking up off the floor here. Just hold for 3 breaths. Good. Now taking it out to the same side. So I've got my right leg in my strap here. I'm going to take my right leg out to the side. I'm using my towel, my strap to hold up most of the weight of that leg. Reach my heels away, toes pull back. 3 breaths here. Good. And back to center, finishing off that hamstring series, taking the toe towards the center of the body. Now on this one, where I really want you to pay attention to the hip. So maybe even use your extra hand, the same side hand, to kind of grab that hip and pull it down to the floor. We want that hip to stay on the floor as the leg comes across the body. All right, so this is targeting what I spoke about before, is that outer hamstring. So a lot of times it doesn't take that leg going very far to feel a pretty intense stretch in that outer hamstring space. So please only go to where you need to get that stretch. Breathe and hold. Good. Now, just to finish here, a little bit of a stirrup stretch. So with the stirrup stretch, we're going to bend the knee and bring that foot internally rotated and then take it back externally rotated. So we're moving the hip socket here, bringing the foot in and then extending it out. Bringing it in and then extending it out. So same thing here. The back of the hip stays in the mat. This doesn't have to be fast. Okay. Now you could use your towel or strap. You could also just hold on to your foot, right? You have that mobility. Rotating in, rotating out. Just trying to feel that ball and socket joint. Rotate in that hip space, right? And reach away. Let's do 2 more here. Good. All right, and let's pick that other foot up. Have join the first, switch it out, and start with just heel over hip. All right, so I'm heel over hip, toe to the nose. If I have a little bit more, I can tug on that band, getting that nice stretch through the hamstring, maybe even a little bit in the calf, depending how tightly we're pulling on the toes here. Good. Taking it out to the same side. So I'm still reaching away with the heel, still pulling the toes back. Good. Now we're going to come back up. And this is one where I want you to focus on that hip space. So maybe grabbing in that little nook of the hip, pulling it down, turning the big toe. Remember, the big toe turns towards the center of the body. And we bring that leg across. Right? Bring it across without lifting the back of the hip. Big inhales and exhales. Keeping this hip anchored into the floor. Good. And then a little stirrup on this side, same thing. Rotating that foot in towards the center of the body and then send it out and away. And rotating in and sending it out and away. Notice my hip does not rock on the floor. Right? Back of the hip pressing on the floor. This rotation is coming from that ball and socket joint. In and then back out. In and then back out. Let's do 3 more. And last one. Good stuff. All right, taking that strap off. Let's just bring both knees into the chest. Pull those knees in, and I want you to actively press your tailbone down. So if this is your tailbone, I want you to actively press it down as you pull your knees in. Open up the shoulders. Good. And we're just going to take a few minutes here, and I encourage you to stay in this space even after I sign off, to spend a little time with feet on the wall. So I'm going to give you some options here. You can go 90-degree bend in the knees, 90-degree bend in the hip, feet flat on the wall. You can do a little bit of an activation, pushing into the wall, and then doing some hip lifts. Lengthening through the tailbone as you go up and down. If you have tightness in that low back, any kind of compression in that low back, this feels great. Just a little bit of activation. You could scoot your hips closer to the wall and send the legs straight up. Either toes pulled down or rotated out. Just finding a comfortable position on the wall. So wherever feels good to you, arms out to the side, arms up in a Y. Encourage those shoulders to rotate open as well. Then we want to focus on our breathing. And remember, the breath starts with the belly, filling it up, and then taking that breath in through the diaphragm, which is the space between your belly and your lungs. And then taking that breath further into the lungs, expanding that rib cage. And then for the exhale, reversing that, starting with the lungs, through the diaphragm, finishing in the belly. And as we pull that belly button into the spine, think about pulling the pelvic floor up toward your center as well. And continue with those breaths there. I encourage you to do at least 4 or 5, focusing on your breath, big inhales and exhales. And just focus on your body. Just for that time, let all your worries and other thoughts just disappear. 5, controlled deep breaths, and that way, focusing on yourself, guaranteed to make you feel better afterwards. All right, everybody, have a wonderful rest of your day. Stay safe, stay well.